Oh, okay. Welcome. We're back. Surprise. It's not that surprising, but I didn't originally plan that we would do this show. But I just thought, I was thinking about it yesterday, and I was just kind of like, hey, I mean, we, Sunday is the day where I usually do football content, and it's probably more convenient for me anyway. So, why not for the next couple of weeks do the recap like we always did? And that was our most popular show. So here we are. And did we ever pick? Let's talk about this. Could we have picked? We didn't know. I didn't know this was going to happen. I talked about this before any of the games yesterday. Couldn't have known. Could we have picked a better weekend of football to recap than this one? Could we have picked a better one? I don't think so.
No.
Would you say, was this the best playoff weekend that you remember? 4 games. I mean, yes, right? I mean, I would say yes.
Personal bias aside, just general games, yes, of course,
Yeah,
personal
I mean, there are, of course,
there's
things.
Personal bias, but general games, yeah, totally.
I mean, I don't remember enjoying a weekend of football more than this one.
I do, but like I said, personal bias.
I mean,
Super Bowl,
I enjoyed the Giants' Super Bowl victories.
Yeah, they're up there for us. This is right behind that,
Yeah, I mean, we're fans of teams, Giants for me, Eagles for you, that have won Super Bowls in our lifetime. Lucky us, I've won 2 Super Bowls in my lifetime. No, I'm not old enough. I was not born in 1990. Don't worry. All right, we got some comments in the chat, and then I'll get to some of the questions that were brought in.
We beat Tom Brady all 3 times. No, we did.
What's up?
We beat Tom Brady in all 3 of those Super Bowls.
Yeah, we beat Brady twice. You beat Brady once. I remember that. All right. Can't escape the Gabe Davis questions. Yes, we will talk about Gabe Davis.
Wrong hand. This is fitting. This. We can do a show on this.
We can do a whole show. Look.
Do you see him break that DB's ankles?
Yeah. I think I hate Gabe Davis because they haven't been following me long enough. They haven't been following me when I recommended Gabe Davis as a sleeper in the 2020 rookie draft. They don't remember that. They don't remember when I was adamant during the preseason of 2020 that Gabe Davis was going to be someone to consider, someone to pay attention to. And then throughout the early offseason when I discussed him as a potential sleeper. But then the vibe on Davis went negative. And guess what? I was right about that too. Then they come out this season and they don't use him. So I was right to take the negative indicators into account at that point. And now here we are that they're using him again. So it makes sense that I'll go back to my original viewpoint now that the team seems to not hate him anymore. Right? I mean, that's my life cycle with Gabe Davis. It's not like I hated him. I've never hated him. Like I said, he was one of my first sleepers that I identified. I mean, it's on paper. You can go look at it on DLF. I've written plenty about Gabe Davis and how much I liked him in the past, especially early last offseason. There's a whole article on a second-year leap from him. It's one of my early DLF articles. Obligatory Gabe Davis question. So many of the questions in the chat are about Gabe Davis, and we will get to those in advanced questions. But we'll start with the questions from the chat and go to the advanced questions later. Ahir says hello. Yes, and this is probably gonna be a podcast, so I will do my best to read the questions. So even if you cannot see what's going on, we're still paying attention, or you can still pay attention, follow along. I'm not used to podcasts. I haven't done them since I recorded the Dynasty duo with CJ, which I really miss, by the way. I love you, CJ. If you're somehow listening to this, I love you. Please come back to the Dynasty community. I miss you. But I will do my best to remember my podcast form because I'm such a live streamer type analyst. Podcast, right? If ever. Okay, so from Pat Coughlin, he asks us, would you recommend going after Hardman or Pringle? Or I guess the implication is or neither. I've talked a lot, so let's send it over to you first.
I mean, if neither's an option, neither very easily, but obviously Mikol. Akash put it in the comments that Pringle's 30 years old.
By the way, that's wrong. He's 28.
That's wrong. It feels like it's right. He's 27,
Just
right?
for the record, he's 28. So we don't get
I thought he was 30.
blamed on that. He's 28.
I honestly believed it. I knew he was up there, but neither. I think they're going to draft someone, maybe sign someone. Michael Gallup off the injury, maybe.
I'll find out with the injury. Mike Williams, I think, is more likely.
That'd be crazy. Honestly, I think they signed someone. I'd go neither, but Mikol was pretty impressive too.
28.2. I did say November 93. That's 28.2. I do this. Between Hardman and Pringle, I'd take Hardman. Yeah. I don't want either one. I mean, Hardman's already spent up 3 years of his rookie deal. Not doing much. I don't know. I don't see it. They're going to sign somebody. I know we've said that in the past, but I think this is the time where it really comes to fruition. At the very least, I think they signed someone like Christian Kirk, who actually I think would excel in this offense. If they want to go really cheap, maybe they sign Jamison Crowder. Yeah, someone who can play. Russell Gage, someone who can play. Someone like that. You want to go cheap? But I just think there's no way that they leave it completely unaddressed. I think they're going to sign somebody. So, neither of these two between Hardman and Pringle, but I'd obviously rather Hardman. Pringle's not even worth a roster spot to me, even after this. Okay, so from Trogdor, I think this boils it down to a good question. Talking about Gabe Davis, but this is a specific question. 12-team Superflex, do you pay the 206 for Gabriel Davis? Would you pay the 206, or would you rather have... What do you think there? 206 or Gabriel Davis?
Gabe Davis for me. I believe the cutoff for me for like talent I'm gonna want to draft is probably gonna be in a 12-team league 202, 203. I'm gonna want the top end of the second picks for I mentioned last week the George Pickens and Jahan Dotson types. Maybe take a flyer on Justin Ross if he gets good capital. But as for that, 206 past the cutoff. I'd take Gabe Davis.
I worry about my pick rankings because they look a little weird. Like, tell me how this sounds to you. So, right around the 206, just above the 206, I have Brandon Cooks. Just below Mike Williams. That doesn't feel right? Like, that feels wrong. It's Superflex. But that still feels wrong, doesn't it? That pick seems too high. The pick seems too high. Because I don't know. This is something I'm going to have to look at a little bit closer. I think these picks might be a good bit too high overall. This class is weak in a lot of ways. I think I might have to reevaluate this, how I curve this out. With that being said, I feel like it has to be Gabe Davis, Gabe Davis is way too low in my rankings. Gabe Davis I'm going to read some wide receivers I had above him. You tell me when to stop. Robert Woods, Tyler Boyd, Adam Thielen, DJ Chark, Michael Gallup. Okay, we'll continue. I thought that one was the very interesting one. Cortland Sutton.
As much as I think Rodgers is going there next year, I'm going to keep going.
Tyler Lockett. Renfro.
That's probably the point.
Renfro. And then above that is Williams and Cooks. Allen Robinson.
Seems about the area I'd put him in.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd still rather have Williams. Just because if Williams resigns, I know he's going to produce on the Chargers. If he doesn't, then I'd rather have Davis. But I think Williams is going to resign on the Chargers. So I'll probably put him around. I'd rather have Davis than Renfro. Actually, those two are very close. But I think I'd rather have Davis over Lockett. Sutton, I just hate. If they don't get Aaron Rodgers, Sutton is dead in the water. Sutton has no value, really, to me. None. Why? You couldn't play him this year. If they don't get Aaron Rodgers, Sutton is totally worthless. So you're already going to be 27, not good, stuck there. It's either they get Aaron Rodgers or Cortland Sutton is going to become, he's going to take the throne from Tyler Boyd as the highest priced roster clogger in Dynasty. But anyway, I think that's about fair. I'm going to have to adjust these rankings because this just doesn't feel right. Like I constantly look at the pick values on the Superflex table, and they just don't look right. They don't look right. They're too high. The picks are too high. So I am going to redo this chart, and I'm going to get back to you guys. But I'm leaning that this is actually about right. This value is about right. 206 for Gabe Davis. It's about right. I know that sounds kind of odd, but there's going to be 5 quarterbacks worth taking, even if none of them are probably worth an early first. This is a flat quarterback class. But there could be 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round, even if they're all in the latter half.
I think Pickett goes. I've been hearing buzz about Pickett going in the top 10, and I think it happens.
Well, man, top 10 maybe, but not
top 5. Top 10. Carolina at 7.
I just think there's a lot of decent quarterbacks, all of whom any quarterback taken in the first round I would rather have over Gabe Davis. I don't care how bad they are. Any quarterback taken in the first round. So if that's adding 5 players ahead of him, then you're looking at him versus the 201 in a 1 QB, and suddenly then that you're not so, the question doesn't sound as crazy. So I actually think this price is about right. And Gabe Davis needs to obviously move in my rankings. He's misranked pretty badly. He's very misranked. He's someone I have to fix.
Everyone's fixing him tonight. After that game, everyone's bumping him up.
Yeah, but it's not even that. Like my rankings are, I try not to let my rankings get stale, but this is definitely a time of the year where it's not like I've been updating them very often. So I'm going to have to go in and fix them. But this is a good question. 206 in Superflex for Gabe Davis is about right. Which probably makes him a sell. Unrelated to the previous, so from Richard Davis. Unrelated to the previous matchups, which were incredible. So this has nothing to do with this weekend. Would you rather have Lawrence or Hurts long-term for fantasy? Lawrence or Hurts? Let's say Dynasty then. Dynasty League.
No, Lawrence.
Yeah, I'd rather have Lawrence. Do you have any sort of rankings of any kind?
Yes, I do. I believe I have Hurts at the end of my QB1 rankings at 12, and I have Lawrence at 9 in a different tier, right above him.
Yeah, I have Lawrence at 8 and Hurts at 10. So so we both would prefer Lawrence, but I have him close.
Yeah, looking at these, I'm probably going to move Hurts up to 11 or maybe 10.
101 in this class in Superflex or Hurts?
Hurts. As much as I love Treylon Burks, as much as I do.
I have Hurts just below the 101, 1 spot below. I have Lawrence 5 spots above overall.
If I knew someone was going to get amazing capital or amazing landing spot, like Treylon Burks could go to Philly, he could go to.
Well, it's not Treylon Burks that
it's the quarterback. I'm taking Treylon Burks. It's my 101 in Superflex. That's where he's going to rank for me. I know it's kind of bold, but
I mean, I feel like
good value wise.
The good news is that the two top running backs in this class are both very young. They're both 21. They're actually younger than any running back was in last year's class. We have one, Breece Hall is May 2001, and Isaiah Spiller is August 2001. So we have 2 players who are in Javonte Williams' age group. So if either gets the draft capital and the landing spot, I would think they would be my 101. Not a wide. It's never going to be a wide receiver if they're running. There's no Jamar Chase in this class. No, not that is a realistic bar. But how many years have a Jamar Chase? Who was the last Jamar Chase before Jamar Chase?
Probably Julio. Probably, maybe
Julio. Yeah.
might be.
DeAndre Hopkins was a very, very good prospect.
Yeah.
And
Maybe
that's
next year.
Amari Cooper. Amari was a very strong prospect. And of course, disaster, very strong prospect of Sammy Watkins. But Sammy Watkins was a very, very good prospect too.
We should have one or two next year as well similar to that level. If they have a good next season with Jackson Smith and Jigba in Ohio State, and I'm going to butcher the name, the guy out of LSU, Bouillet.
Keishawn Butte.
Yeah, I told you I was going to.
Butte. Yeah.
I watched enough film.
But either way, I would rather have Lawrence. The rookie rankings are coming, by the way. They're coming. They're not ready yet, but they're coming. I put in the data. I'm not comfortable on the order that I have them in yet, but I've put in the data set up the table. So they're not far off from coming. I would say maybe by next week we have them. I have them. I'm just not confident in sharing them yet. Thank you, Richard. He's saying there are 6 people right now. There should be 6 likes on the video. Correct. If you're here, like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to this on podcast form, follow the podcast. Can you do that? Like the podcast?
You can give a 5-star rating once we get it on Apple.
Well, hopefully we'll get it on Apple very soon.
Soon enough. It takes a little bit to get on there.
That takes some time, yeah. So Pat wants to talk about Juju to the Chiefs next year. Well, if you want to introduce additional failure, they have a lot of success. They do have Clyde, so they have failure there. But they would introduce extra failure onto the team by adding Juju, so we don't want that, right? We can't have additional failure on our team. That would infect the momentum that the Chiefs have, so that won't work. So they're not going to sign Juju. They already tried to sign Juju, and he didn't want to go there, and then he sucked this year. So he was injured, and he wasn't good when he was playing. So no Juju for me. He's not worth the money. Just sign Jamison Crowder instead. Sign Christian Kirk instead. Don't bother with Juju. And also the fact that Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 2 targets and 1 catch for 9 yards, and Jerick McKinnon had 5 catches for 54 yards is a big, big problem. Big problem for anyone hoping that Clyde is like a thing. He's not. That is very, very bad.
It's not even the line that surprised me most from the game, to be quite honest with you. Nothing
surprised me about that. But
I'm talking about Stephon Diggs 3 for 7 when Josh Allen pitched like a perfect game.
3 for 7 is not good. 3 for 7 is not good. Richard says, imagine if the Chiefs actually get a good wide receiver too. I don't think we're going to have to imagine. I think we're going to see it.
How many years has it been? They've been mocking every one of the Chiefs?
This year is the year.
It's always the year. Oh, I hope so.
All right. So Akash says, the Broncos offense is a weird eval to me. Obviously down the stretch, these guys did not produce well, but they all bottomed out at once. Not a coincidence, in his opinion. Glad Fangio is gone for fantasy football purposes. Well, but how many points? What do these sound like to you? I hear something here. What these sound like? Another line of mine. What do these sound like to you?
They sound like excuses.
Right. And how many fantasy points do excuses score?
0.
0. So I don't want to hear about excuses. Excuses are no good. So these are a bunch of excuses. I won't make any excuses. If they're so talented, they would have scored. They would have scored fantasy points. If someone would have scored something. But nobody did because nobody's that good. And see, he even admits that he's making excuses. So I love it. No, it's a bunch of excuses. I don't want to hear about that. So with Courtland Sutton, I've had enough of Courtland Sutton. He can be someone else's problem. Jerry Jeudy, I feel bad for him. I do, because I think the talent's there, but it's not good enough. And also, for the record, he says Tim Patrick scored something. Well, actually, the Tim Patrick graph is not good. There were some good games, but then we had a large stretch of single digits, and I kept recommending him as a wide receiver 4, kept getting burned, and I'm not going back there again. So no thank you. But he did kill everyone else. Him and Albert O took their big shit marker and just drew a big shit all over the entire offense and prevented anyone else from doing anything. That's what they did, those two. They took a big shit on Judy, Sutton, and Fan for fantasy. Yeah, Akash says Julio, AJ Green, Amari as strong prospects. I agree, but those are also before my time. The failure line is apparently a classic of mine. You think it's a failure? I feel like I talk about excuses more than failure now.
Oh, there was that stretch with Carson Wentz in the midseason.
Well, I mean, failure is a problem there now because if it weren't for him, they would have made the playoffs. But he failed to lead them to the playoffs. So, yeah. All right, from Alex. Thoughts on Peoples-Jones? Browns saved $15 million by cutting Landry. Think they're going to cut Landry?
I mean, I don't think they have a replacement. They might draft one. That's one of the spots I don't want to see with Hebron either.
Do you like Donovan Peoples-Jones?
I mean, for where you drafted him likely or picked him up off of waivers for a roster spot, yes. Trading for him. Because I feel like the people who are like that, who are like me kind of, have them on their roster ready. So I feel like it'd be more than a third for people who like
I don't think Donovan Peoples-Jones is good at all. I think he sucks, personally.
I think he has his game. He has his moments.
I think he sucks. I think he's just a guy. He should be a wide receiver 3 on an NFL team, preferably one that doesn't play a lot of 3 wide sets. So he's just a no thank you for me. I don't get it. He's not a complete receiver. Somehow he gets a lot of volume and does nothing with it. That's because he's not good. It's not all on Baker Mayfield. I just think DPJ is just not someone you want to be a major part of your offense. Now, David Njoku is going to walk in free agency. They'll still have Hooper, Harrison Bryant as the tight end too. I think they'll have Landry, but even if they don't, they'll sign someone else. They're going to save the $15 million by cutting Landry and then replace Landry with Mike Williams or replace Landry with could be Juju or Gallup or whoever. But they're not just going to cut Landry and not replace him. And I kind of like Anthony Schwartz as like a deep sleeper as well. I just have no confidence in Peoples-Jones, so I'm not a fan. He's not someone I'm drafting in a startup. He's not someone I'm trading for. He's definitely someone I'm trading away. Okay, so Singletary was not. So from Richard's asking about Singletary, Devin Singletary. So he was not very good today, but he did score a touchdown. He had 5 catches. Zach Moss even active? He didn't play. He's no stats.
I didn't see him out there.
Well, he wasn't there either way. He wasn't there. So, what do you think about Devin Singletary? I mean, he's someone who certainly emerged as a force down the stretch, right?
Oh yeah, 200%.
So, what do you think his value is then?
To trade away or to trade for? I feel like it's a different question.
I mean, if you can get any first,
yeah,
you can take it, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say late first, the min. So
he's not worth that.
Someone could look at that game log. You have to offer it. You have to be that person that just sends out Devin Singletary for any first. Just everyone in the league. Preferably the late.
Devin Singletary or Rashad Penny, if you had to pick between the two.
Oh man, those reports about Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll staying are like makes me want to take Rashad Penny. I know.
Bad.
I have to go with Rashad Penny over Devin Singletary.
See, I would too, because I think that the upside for Rashad Penny is that he just is the starter there and he's an RB1. There is no way that Buffalo moves. Matt Breida signed free agency, disaster, failure. They didn't do anything. There's no way that they move forward with just Singletary and Moss. Moss is done. There's not going to be Moss coming back. There's not going to be Moss retaking. That's not happening. Moss is going to be third string. But they're going to sign someone. They have to. They tried this with Matt Breida, and Breida just didn't cut it. He wasn't good enough. So they're going to sign someone else, and it's going to be exactly what you don't want. It's going to be someone boring who takes up a lot of touches and gets goal line work. I mean, those things. Okay, can you imagine who I have my eye on?
Oh, gosh. Melvin Gordon?
That's right. Who else?
I want to say Leonard Fournette.
Not Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette, I think, is too good for them. No, Sony Michel. Sony Michel and, Melvin Gordon. Now, I think Singletary is not Rojo. Rojo is visiting his couch. Well, no, we can't have more failure there. But, look, Devin Singletary was great because he was workhorse down the stretch. He was workhorse, which he will not be again. And if he's not a workhorse, then he's not going to be great. But I do think he's someone who you'll be able to play next year. So I wouldn't just give him away. But I'm not super excited. Next year's the last year of his deal. They're not going to sign him to a big contract. And I think that this was he was used out of necessity rather than design. They're going to get someone to give the touches that they wanted to give to Moss. And I think that's likely to be someone like Melvin Gordon or Sony Michel. They're a good team. They're not going to have any trouble having someone sign there. They're not going to have trouble signing a free agent. I also think if James Conner walks,
that'd be fun.
He would be a decent complement for Devin Singletary. Same thing with the goal line work. But I don't think James Conner is going to walk. But if he's available, he would be someone. The low end is that they sign someone like Darrell Williams. I think that's the kind of the worst player they could sign. Someone like that, or, that Rojo was mentioned. I don't like Rojo at all, but maybe they do. Donta Foreman, potentially. Justin Jackson. These are players who are free agents who flashed near the end of the year. But I think that's a little low. I think they're going to go for someone like Gordon or Michelle.
I can see that. I don't think they're going to draft anyone, even though I was under that impression before Singletary went on that run.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to draft anyone. I think they need a veteran. They've tried draft picks already. I think it's time for a veteran. All right, so from Richard, he's looking for a first for Singletary, but he hasn't gotten a taker, so I feel like he just stay on my roster. Yeah, I'm fine holding him. But I would keep trying to get a first. I'm willing to add a third to get a first for Singletary. I'd like to get that first. I'd like to move on. He's not someone I want to hold on to. Okay, I figured this would come up. So from BJ, he's asking if I'm concerned with Cam Akers and his 2 fumbles. Are you concerned with Cam Akers and his 2 fumbles?
No.
I think I'm more interested in the 24 carries, even though he did very little with them.
Yeah, he's back. I mean, I don't know what his keep trade cut value is going to be after today, but
who cares? Nobody cares. I guess people care, but if people are using that to actually spot his actual value, keep trade cut is not. You don't use this to check every day to see how it updates. That's wrong way to use keep trade cut. You just you use it to check in from time to time and just take a look. Oh, where is the value? But if you're trying to use it to measure the value change from day to day, that site cannot do that. It tries, but when someone finds a good computer algorithm to do that, they'll be very rich. But that they cannot do. But they're better over a longer time scale. But just to actually, nobody can do that. Measure how the market moves from day to day based on events, because it's always going to be recency biased more than the real thing is when you actually have to draft the players. When you actually have to draft the players, suddenly the recency bias is a lot less. People can say anything they want on Twitter. They can click any button they want. But when you actually have to draft the players, all of a sudden it's not quite as recency biased as you would think. So I don't care what his keep trade cut value is. I'm more interested to see what his keep trade cut value is in 2 weeks, in a month. Then I'll care. But I don't care what it is tomorrow. That's an irrelevant piece of information.
But there's only one player who I care about his keep trade cut value tomorrow is, and it's Gabe Davis, of course.
Yeah, but that's another irrelevant piece of information. I don't care what his keep trade cut value
I
is.
just want to see how high it goes.
What it is 2 weeks from now. That's what I want to know. That's the piece of information I actually care about.
I'm just acting a fool. I just want to see how high it gets.
Yeah, I agree. So from Tyler, he says he got Tannehill in the 301 for Singletary.
We have to talk about Tannehill too.
I mean, if this is a super flex, I'll take Tannehill. If it's a one, I'll take Singletary. Tannehill sucked.
Yikes.
But that's a whole other story.
That pick to end the game. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, well.
Not ideal.
If Penny isn't a workhorse, he's pretty ugly for fantasy football. 3% target share isn't great, very low receiving work. It's funny because he was actually a good receiving back coming in, right? I mean, wasn't that his profile? I don't know how much we can read into it from 5 games. I think that if he's the starter in Seattle, we're going to want him.
Especially if Pete Carroll retains the job.
But I also don't think they're going to retain him unless Pete Carroll stays. Pete Carroll's the one who liked Penny in the first place. All right. From Jason, any optimism with Marlon Mack? We haven't talked about him, and I don't even know. What do you think? I'm saying no. I just feel like he's been way too off the radar for too long.
Yeah.
I'd say no. Not really.
No.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good on Marlon Mack.
There's nothing really to add. I don't know. He's not going to get a good money in free agency because the whole injury. I know Cam Akers is going to obliterate Achilles injuries for the next 5, 6, 7 years.
Is more of the realistic thing where 4 years later you're back to kind of where you were. I think that's still somewhere in between that and Cam Akers is going to become the norm, but it's not going to be with Cam Akers. Akers will be a guy way overhyped but not produce nearly what everyone expects. Could be wrong from Richard, but he looked fine, honestly. Today he looked like he did before. So not worried about it, especially not 8 months from now. Okay, from Alex. I asked you this a month ago, so an update. 14-team Superflex. Remember what that means for quarterbacks. Tua, Darnold, Mond, Ellinger. So crap at quarterback. Disaster. Pick 102 with Najee Jacobs at RB. Recommended try to get low on quarterback 1. Like Stafford, can't even get a quarterback around that level. How do I handle this draft pick? Well, in a 14-team Superflex, I can almost guarantee you that the 102 is going to be a quarterback. Just given how I value quarterbacks in 14-team Superflex. I would not surprise me if quarterbacks are my first 2 picks. I would hope so. So I would probably take a quarterback. In a 14-team Superflex, you can't just assume you're going to trade for one later. It's not like a 12-team Superflex. They're just so scarce. I'm fine forcing myself to take a quarterback unless it's really bad, unless the value is really bad, and then you can trade down. But I'm fine forcing it in a 14-team Superflex.
Yeah, I mean, one of these guys has to get a good landing spot, right?
Yeah, essentially.
I know it's not a landing spot, but one of the top.
When we go from 12 to 14-team Superflex, I would raise the value of quarterbacks by about 50%. 50, not 15, 50.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance my first 2 picks would be quarterbacks. People don't get it, how much they just don't understand. And I've done articles on this. What does this even mean? Can you explain this? I'm not very fun. Can you explain this to me?
I mean, I guess I'm saying about how Gabe Davis is going to shoot to select the moon tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm not fun. People know this. I'm fun with my personality, but when it comes to content, I don't do fun. I do engagement. I guess you could call me an engagement farmer. I'll step on the program. I don't care.
Oh no.
I don't give a shit anymore. It's whatever. You can call my content on Twitter whatever you want to call it. People seem to like it, right? I mean, people interact with it. You know, at the end of the day, I'm football count. My content's about football. If sometimes I talk about things that are not really actionable. Sorry. If everything I did was actionable, I don't think I would have 18,000 plus Twitter followers. I think I would have like 4,000. So, that's just not how Twitter works. If you want actionable content, I write articles. I've written over 150 for DLF. You can read them. You can come to this show where we really mostly talk about actionable Dynasty. Sometimes redraft starts it during the season. We talk about actionable information. I do my start sit threads. I do plenty of actionable content, but on Twitter, there's a desire for engaging content that is not necessarily actionable. It is a social media platform. I'm sorry, that's what works. So I am not. It's sorry, not sorry for that. And Akash is a lot better at this than I am. A lot of people are. I have a lot of volume on my Twitter. That's but I don't. My engagement per tweet ratio is not good. So a lot of people who know better than me. Okay, so from BJ, he's talking about Fournette being gone next year. Where would he go if he left? I do not think Fournette's. Well, I mean, if Brady retires, take anything to say and throw it out the window. What do you think? Think Brady's going to retire?
I don't think I don't think Brady's going to end his career in a loss.
Me neither.
But he doesn't want to be part of a rebuild. And Tampa, I know the salary cap's fake. Just let me get that out of the way real quick here. Salary cap is absolutely fake.
It's actually a lie. It's a myth.
It's a myth. Yeah, sorry about that. Wrong word. Same concept. But
it's a big lie.
Yeah.
I got to be careful with that word. Anyway, go ahead.
They just don't. I don't know. Chris Godwin could go somewhere and get more money than he would get from Tampa. I know we're talking about the salary cap, but he would get more money somewhere else probably.
Yeah.
So this could unravel. There's a potential. I think
Let's see.
Plus 0 chance.
If Brady stays, it'll all come together. But either way, I think Fournette's going to stay in Tampa because I don't think anyone else really wants Fournette. He's been great there. All right, a couple more from Akash before he goes. He's asking me to just care about.
No. He's explaining his previous post.
And what is that? Can you explain this to me?
So instead of caring about his value, you just laugh at the overreaction to what's going to happen because he's gonna be at least wide receiver 30.
It's hard. When I comment about it, I can get KTC to comment and then talk to me in the DMs. What do you expect me to do? If I can get that to happen, then maybe I should care. No, look, people pick on KTC all the time, myself included, and it's just important to recognize them for what they are.
Well, it's not them though. It's not a guy on Keep Trade Cut just setting rankings. It's people going in and hitting.
Exactly. That's exactly it. It's that people should realize that they are a computer tool that measures people clicking a button.
It's not. No, I totally understand.
That's what they are. And I think they would tell you that. That's what they told me. But I think there are still people who think that they're going in and moving these players around.
Yeah.
Which they are not doing.
The admin of the site
don't put their thumb on the scale really at all. I think I advocated for them to put their thumb on the scale more.
Yeah, little pushback to
Yeah, I think they were talking about some ways to do that. I think I would definitely be on the side of putting thumb on the scale more. But that's just me.
200% agree, especially when we wake up to Gabe Davis at wide receiver 24 tomorrow.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's not like the admin going in and saying, "Oh, Gabe Davis, he had 4 touchdowns." Woo!
That's why I trust my rankings more than any computer. Okay, who do you have for the Super Bowl? So, who do you think is going to win conference championships?
I'm rocking with my original pick that I made at the start of the playoffs. I got the Bengals over the 49ers. I have 2 upsets this weekend.
Wow.
I have them both.
Yeah, I go the other way. I have the Chiefs and Rams.
Smart. I'm just riding with it. I'm stuck.
Yeah. Now I'll go the other way. Chiefs and Rams. Yeah. Thanks for this. We'll try to have a good show. I talked to that. I talked to KTC. They responded to me, and my, was not nice things that I said. I mean, there were criticisms, and they gave me the same reassurance that they gave you, that they have a system and they're working to build a good tool and they have a good idea and a good foundation. My problems are mostly with the idea, not them. They make the best out of a flawed idea. They're as good as you can get for an idea that I don't believe in the first place. Put it that way. My issues are not with them. It's with the idea of this way of doing things is people don't understand how to use it correctly. And maybe they could do better on messaging that. Maybe that's on them. But maybe that's on us as analysts, teaching people how to use these tools correctly. Maybe that's something I could work on. And I've tried to talk about how to use that tool correctly in the show, because it is useful. You just have to use it correctly. You look at a grander time scale. Don't look at it for every game. that won't help you. But anyway, BJ says, but yeah, it just does come up a lot because it's like a flashpoint of discussion. And yes, how are people misusing it? So what I said is looking and thinking that the value actually changes that much based on one game. It doesn't. People are just voting because they're mad. That's not really what's going on. The value, players don't move that much in value based on one game. It's just people voting because they're angry. And they're angry or they're really happy that a player won a fantasy title for them. Doesn't actually work that way. I see it in the real, yeah, exactly. So you're saying I'm right. There are a lot of small movements you can explain, but variance, yes. And then someone who does this for my Patreon, I know when I go into the real drafts, it's not that wild of movement. It just isn't. So that's the one way that people are misusing it, is by using it to track every little change instead of over a bigger time period. Because that's what I would recommend.
I do have to say he's up 100 points since the end of the game.
Yeah, it's obviously bullshit.
I know, I'm just saying, I'm keeping track of it. Right,
but that's obviously not how this works. This is good advice, actually, from Richard. Abuse trade calculators all the time in trades. Yes. Although this is an interesting example of how. But I would recommend using trade calculators to look if there are any players. If you can get the information, this is good advice, actually. If you get the information that some of your league mates use a specific trade calculator, use that against them. Use it against them. It's the only thing I use trade calculators for, is to use them against other people. I don't give a shit what the trade calculator says. I'm going to do the trade if I want to do the trade. If I want to do the trade, I'm going to do the trade. The trade calculator is irrelevant to me. But anyway. A lot of talk about trade calculators, but it is what it is. This is something you talk about in the offseason. Mm-hmm. All right, we got a few questions. So we do this one?
No, I don't. We didn't do any of the pre
questions. So we have a trade here. Lockett in a 2022 third for Gabriel Davis in 2022 second. So what do you think?
I mean, we're not taking that offer.
No, I'd rather have Davis over Lockett. So I'll take that side.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd counter that.
Yeah. All right, Hollywood Brown or Gabe Davis? Say Dynasty PPR.
Yeah, we're not. I don't think we're there yet. Hollywood Brown.
I'll take Hollywood Brown and his first round draft capital. Okay, here's a question about: did the air finally come out of the Singletary bubble today, or will people make excuses? Excuses for what? For what? That he scored a touchdown and had 5. He had a good fantasy day. He had 14 something points. Actually 15, just over 15. So for what? That he didn't do that well against the Rams defense efficiency wise. He still had the volume. He's the only running back winning carries. I'm missing something here clearly. So
I don't know. I'm missing it too because
I guess the answer is no. So move on. Okay. Under the assumption that Odell returns to LA, how would you value him? Does it depend on Robert Woods? This is another classic example of one good game maybe being a little too important. Odell has not been that good in LA. The only thing he's done is score touchdowns, which he didn't do in Cleveland. You think Odell returns? Because I kind of think he does.
It's looking like it.
But if he does, then what happens to Van Jefferson? Is he just dead? I guess Van Jefferson's kind of faded.
We gotta bring back that the Fantasy Gazette meme. I don't know if you saw that one. Where Van Jefferson's like, oh no. I forget what it said.
I'm not a big fan of Van Jefferson. I think that Odell doesn't have a lot of value either. He's already 29. He's a hard sell to me. He's not someone I want at all. And yeah, it does depend on Robert Woods. If Robert Woods comes back healthy, then Odell is nothing. What was the game plan with Diggs? Well, I don't know what Cup has to do with it, so I'm a little confused. But what do you think?
I think it's a comment about Diggs' consistency because he didn't he was good this year. Diggs was good. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't 2020. He wasn't 2020 Stephon Diggs. So
No,
I guess he's talking about consistency. I mean, Josh Allen likes to spread the ball around. We know this. So
yeah, I get it, but it is what it is. What are you gonna do? Sell Diggs? I mean, yes, I would sell Diggs, but then you're gonna have games like this. Every wide receiver not named Cup does. Adams maybe too. I love this question. If I have Clyde in Dynasty, should I be picking up Jerick McKinnon, or do you anticipate he will be elsewhere next year? Oh, where do I even start here? Where do I start with this?
Start wherever you like, because
where do I start with this? I mean, first of all, if you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire in Dynasty, you should get rid of him. Secondly, no, you should not pick up Jerick McKinnon. He'll be on his couch next year. I mean, I don't know what they do. You think, what did they do at running back? I don't think Darrell Williams is even good enough as a backup to deal with Clyde's mess. So, I mean, they could be in play for the same names we talked about with the Bills.
Definitely. I could see them signing a Melvin Gordon, making him the 1A. I know they won't totally
I totally agree.
They won't totally, cut into all of Clyde's work.
Not Jerick McKinnon. Jerick McKinnon had his time. He's gonna be 30. No, thank you. So there's a lot of problems here. Okay. All right. From official_ACG, I got one. How the fuck is anyone supposed to go to sleep after today's games? And apparently I can curse. We'll see. We'll get the explicit tag on Apple, which I kind of like. I need the explicit tag. I can't be a family show. Everyone knows I'm not a family show. I mean, you're not, right? That's why we're doing the show. You're not
supposed to rewatch the game.
Yeah, totally. And then I like this. This was Steve's way. Any thoughts? Steve's way of trying to sneak a question in. Any thoughts on Bills wide receiver number 13, Gabe Davis? So he was trying to sneak in a question about Gabe Davis without actually asking about Gabe Davis. So I thought that was kind of cute. Well done. Well done. You're the listener of the week. Listener of the week, Steve at Steve O'Slice. Listener of the week for sure. The meme.
I remember that now. That was gold when that came out.
I love it. Yeah, no, I do not love Hollywood. Let's talk about, are there any players all right, here, fine. We'll play a game. Who's my favorite player? Who do you think I actually like the most? Who's the player who's the most mine?
I was gonna jokingly say Saquon Barkley, but I'm gonna actually think about it.
No, let's try a real answer. He'd be we'll do that list next.
I think he's gonna win that one, but if I had to guess, I'll throw out a solid guess and say Jamar Chase.
Yeah, he's up there. He's up there. The problem is that everyone likes Jamar Chase.
Yeah, you can.
Jamar Chase and Jonathan Taylor are two of my favorite players, but I think that they're exempt from this category, and Justin Jefferson too, because everybody likes them. Everyone likes them. So let's try again. Try again with someone who's not obvious.
Oh gosh, a not obvious pick.
Yeah, I just think that those are some of the players that can't be assigned to me because everyone likes them.
All right. I'm trying to think because that was the list I was going to go down. I was going to go down the obvious route with Jonathan Taylor. I was going to get to Justin Jefferson eventually. I was probably going to bring up Kyle Pitts too at some point.
I mean, I'm nothing special with Kyle Pitts, I don't think.
Is Dobbins up there?
Akers more so than Dobbins.
I thought Akers would be an obvious one with all the Twitter chat, so I didn't.
Yeah, Akers more so. Well, because I'm also going to stick by him even with these fumbles.
Oh yeah.
Jalen Waddle is one of the ones I was the most known for early in this process. But yeah, Jalen Waddle is probably the one that I talked up the most, who actually like kind of hit, and probably Elijah Moore. I talk about Elijah Moore all the time, and not everyone is as in on Elijah Moore as I am. But yeah, him and Jalen Waddle are probably two of them. Two of them for sure.
I just picked them both in a startup. So.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence
is someone. I think it's easier though to name the players I hate.
Oh, do you want me to name the top two?
Longer list.
I'm just gonna knock out the top two easily. Saquon Barkley, Evan Ingram.
Evan Ingram is nowhere near the top.
Really?
Saquon Barkley is number one and with a bullet. We know that I do not like Saquon Barkley. He is a disaster.
I'm gonna go back and watch his college highlights. And
you think he's number one? Or who do you think I'd pick on the most? Saquon, Clyde,
Carson Wentz.
I haven't picked on Wentz as much lately, but I do pick on him.
It was deserved after the Jaguars. That was so
bad.
I
pick on Clyde all the time. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I missed an obvious one. Akash said Juju in the chat. I forgot about Juju. You're just saying that earlier.
Yeah, Carson Wentz. Yes. Juju. Yeah, I don't like Juju. Yeah, those are some of them. I think Cortland Sutton is up there lately.
Yeah, he's making his way up there.
I hate Cortland Sutton, especially at his price. Yeah, oftentimes when I'm like in on someone and they burn me, I become very out on that player. I used to be a big fan of Wentz, Juju, Galladay. I hate Galladay more than I hate Ingram because everyone hates Ingram. But I'm not a fan of Galladay. And I also definitely do not have a soft spot for Will Fuller. He got his PED suspension at the wrong time in Scott Fishbowl for me. Oh, yes.
Oh, that's another.
This actually might be a good one. He just hasn't been important enough to matter. Rojo isn't been important enough to bother. Yeah, I mean, my Giants have burned me so much, but I actually liked Sterling Shepard as a value before he went down, and Kadarius Toney is someone I'm pretty in on at his price. So it's not all Giants, and I was in on Daniel Jones before the last 2 years. All right, Mike Williams or Gesicki and Singletary. Let's just say it's a regular PPR.
Regular PPR.
I'll take the.
Yeah, take the package.
Gesicki and Singletary.
I agree.
Yeah, I like Gesicki. Okay, so from BJ, do either of you guys bet on the games?
I'll see you later. Yes, I do.
I only bet if someone gives me money. But I don't bet on the games. I don't have time.
I do. It often results in pain.
Yeah, I'm not a sports bettor, really. Okay. Apparently, I'm going to love this trade. I just got Saquon and Hollywood and Gabe Kamara and 207. I'll take 1 year of Kamara and fuck the other side.
I don't know.
Well, I don't want Saquon. He would infect my team with failure. So I can't do that. I can't infect my team with failure because once I take Saquon, then I'll never be able to trade him because nobody wants him. So I don't want – it would make my whole team feel like a failure to have Saquon on it. So in all seriousness, though, I really think I'd rather have one – look, I'm never doing this type of trade either way. Like, if I have Saquon and Hollywood, I'm not trading them for Kamara. I don't want to go into Kamara. If I have Kamara, I'm not doing this trade. I'm getting something I actually want over two pieces I don't want. So no matter what I had originally, and I don't know how I could have any of this originally because there's no way I would, I'm not doing this deal. I'm going to do something different either way. But forced to choose, it would be Kamara. I do get in these positions where I'm like, I'm not. There are some trades where it's like, no matter what I have, I'm never doing it. So, it's. I don't want to say I could never have a player because sometimes I inherit Patreon teams with players I don't want. But trades, I can say I would never do. I'm never doing this trade no matter which side I'm on. Does that make sense? How I could never do. Well, I know it makes sense to you, but like, do you think that makes sense to the people? Like how I could, if I'm starting with Saquon and Hollywood, I'm not trading into an older running back like Kamara. And if I'm starting with Kamara in the 207, I'm not trading a high-end asset like Kamara for two players I don't want.
Yeah, I get that. You'd be looking for someone like you were mentioning earlier, like a Waddle, an Elijah Moore on the other end of the deal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if I could trade Kamara for Waddle straight up, I'd love to do that. That would be my first choice. This is what I would try to do. Okay. Let's see. We talked about your trade. I just talked about it. Okay. Derek Carr future outlook, Dynasty riser or faller? Riser or faller based on what? He didn't play this weekend. You talking about last week?
I think it's based on, I don't know if these reports were recent, but they might look for a new quarterback if the head coach doesn't want Derek Carr.
I think stay with Derek Carr.
I think they should, but I'm just saying that's what I've been hearing.
What are you going to do? Who are you going to replace him with?
Mariota.
Right, and that's going to solve what exactly? No, Derek Carr is good. He's not. Help. If he's not a starter there, he's going to be a starter somewhere.
He needs an outside wide receiver. That's what he needs.
Mike Williams.
Make it happen, Vegas. Make it happen.
I actually think that's a decent fit.
I like it.
Yeah. You know what I think they really should do, though? They should sign Mike Williams and draft a receiver in the first round. Now, that would be a scary offense. Corin asks, Elijah Moore or DJ Moore?
It's a good question. I'll go DJ Moore, but
yeah, I'll go with you with DJ Moore. But I understand why.
Please give him a quarterback.
Elijah Moore has not proven enough to take him over DJ Moore, who's had very good production in 4 years.
He just needs those
25 in April.
He just needs that touchdown variance hit one time.
Yeah, but I'm going with DJ Moore. Derek Carr starts for team, regardless of whether the Raiders not agreed. Yeah, that's what I just said that. I totally agree. Okay, from Spock. How important are acquiring QB1 and QB2 backups in Superflex? I assume you're with me and I would say not very?
Not very. No.
Yeah, this is not something I think about.
Although I will acquire them per se. This is a personal belief of mine that you know about. Say I have Josh Allen, I will have Mitch Trubisky with the hopes that he starts somewhere else next year.
That's fine strategy, but I just worry about acquiring the best backup quarterbacks. I don't care if they're mine.
Well, yeah. I consider Trubisky one of the best backup quarterbacks.
Yeah, but I want Trubisky no matter what.
Yeah. That's fair.
From West Coast Chiefer, does Diggs' playing style fit closer to Kupp or Evans? Asking for longevity of sell Diggs. I don't. Neither, right? Diggs is not similar to either of these two players at all. I don't think so.
No.
I mean, I guess he's not similar to Evans. So I guess he's more similar to Kupp, but he's not really similar to Kupp. He's not similar to Kupp. So I don't know how to answer that. But yes, I do not believe that Diggs is going to. I think we saw it. 2020 was the outlier. 2021 is more in line with the rest of his career. So, he's probably going to be a low-end wide receiver 1 next year, and as long as he remains here for the period of time. And, I would sell him for a premium return.
Unless wide receiver 13 steals that job, I'm kidding. But
yeah, no. It's a good time to – I wouldn't want to buy Diggs, but this might be a tough time to sell him also. Akash says, yeah, stash. I agree with him. Stash other backup quarterbacks for a quick flip if starter misses time. Exactly. And yes, that's the ones the same.
Mariota's of the world.
Mariota's not high on my list. That's the ones who, like Tyler Huntley, would be high on my list. Who rush and have upside even if they're bad at football. Tyler Huntley is exactly that. Okay. Spock says Swift plus blank for Lamar Jackson, 12-team Superflex. You adding a first to Swift for Jackson?
Yeah.
You would?
12-team.
I don't think I would.
I'm saying that's what we get done.
Yeah, but I'm not doing that.
I'm not saying I'd personally do that deal.
I'm not
I'm
doing
saying that's what it's going to take. I agree.
I'm not doing it. I'm not as interested in buying Lamar as I once was. I'm debating if what is he even for you? What quarterback in Superflex leagues?
He is, pull him up real quick. He's quarterback 6 right now for me.
6. I still have him 5, but I could understand having Burrow.
I'm guessing we're flipped on Burrow, I'm going to guess.
I have Burrow at 6.
Yeah, I have Burrow at 5, so that's what it is.
But I have Burrow as the 6th overall player. So I start with 6 quarterbacks. Same as last offseason, except Dak is out and Burrow's in. But otherwise, it's the same. It's the same 6.
200% agree with that.
Yeah. So those are the stars quarterback. But Swift is still valuable. I'm not adding a first to Swift. I mean, maybe if it were late first, 109 or later, 108 even. But I'm not adding a 2023 or a top 5 pick this year. Well, anyway, we didn't actually do a lot of recapping, but that's fine. We talk about what the people want us to talk about, and they mostly wanted to talk about today's games, mostly the last one, and otherwise just want to talk about Dynasty, which is fine with me. I will talk about whatever the people want to talk about. But anyway, we're just over the hour mark, so I don't like these shows to get too long. So let's tell the people what you're working on, and then I'll close this out.
Well, you can find me at Ryan. I'm gonna do it again with the finger.
Yep.
At Ryan_FF every time, every show.
Every time.
I'm going to start up some off-season content. I'm going to tweet on there a lot. I don't know if I'm going to be doing a lot of writing per se till a little later in the off-season, but I'll be here, of course. We'll be doing our shows. And I'm going to start to, grind out the rookie process and try to finish that. That's what I'm going to be up to.
I love it. And we'll have to get those that content. Remind me, we're going to retweet more of that content. We're going to do that because I think that more people need to see your work, because everyone hears about me, right? We all know there's way too much discussion about me and my rankings and my work. Too many people paying attention. I appreciate that. Well, I mean, also, I have a lot of attention. There are a lot of other people who could use a bit of attention. I mostly just care at this point, just engage in my Twitter nonsense, sign up for my Patreon. I don't. If people read my articles, they read them. But DLF is a great place. So it's not just my articles you should read. But anyway, speaking of those, I've been writing more. Typically, I prefer to write when things are static. I do not really enjoy. I did it, but I don't really enjoy writing during the season. I enjoy writing more during the off season and doing other forms, Twitter, podcasts and streams, more dynamic forms of content, easier to update as time passes because I'm doing it live during the season. So you're going to see more articles from me than you saw the last 4 months. I've already written, a bunch, and there will be a bunch more. And I enjoy doing them. I love writing during the off season because I don't have to worry about every last little change. I can just kind of take the data, write, and research. And that's more me than writing about. I don't like writing on a week-to-week basis. I did it, but it was a challenge for me. I definitely had some moments of burnout,
especially when COVID.
I'm back as a writer, and I'm very excited. The DLF team has really worked, especially Ken Kelly. Just give him a shout out. If you don't follow him, I think it's at DLF_Ken K. Follow him on Twitter. But he's the one who's worked most directly with me and my content to help put me into positions to succeed, especially as a writer at DLF. So just appreciate him doing that and going above and beyond for me in that way. And yeah, so you can find all my work at Dynasty League Football, written work there. Ask DLF on the DLF YouTube channel. All my shows here, they're all live and they'll all be here with Ryan. And then it'll be podcast. It's on Spotify, Anchor.
Yep.
And we're working on Apple. So yeah, it's just we didn't really come up with a name. So what do we just call it? Tyler and Brian's Fantasy Football Podcast. We didn't.
Yeah, we're gonna come up with a name. We're gonna scheme soon.
Yeah, if you have a good idea for a name, I'll steal it and give you credit for it. So I might talk about that a little bit more in the next show. Especially once we go to Apple, I will be more likely to try to come up with a permanent name. And yeah, my Patreon, patreon.com/fantasy advice. If you like it, if you like this and you would like me to be in your ears while you're drinking draft picks, please sign up. And did I plug everything? Whatever. I have too much to plug anyway. I don't always plug my stuff. So this time I did. Yeah. You excited for conference championships next week?
Oh, I'm excited to lose betting because I'm all in on the Bengals. I'm all in on Cincy. And they're terrible O-line, but we'll see what happens.
For me, I'm just excited that we had the best weekend of football. And that's what we got to talk about, even though we didn't talk about the games much. Still exciting. Yeah, with that said, thanks everyone for watching, listening, however you consume this. And just, like, subscribe, whatever you're on, whatever platform. And I will we'll see you all next week.
See ya.
See ya.
Davis wide receiver 1.
Oh my God, I love it.